Traditionally, we say 一趟架子,一趟拳, one frame, one fist. So there are only two basic routines. The frame is what we call small frame or 小架. The fist is the 八极拳 routine. Some people call them small 八极 and big 八极, 小八极拳,大八极拳, or small frame and big frame, 小架,大架. However, from our tradition, we don't call them like that because they have different functions. Their relationship is not big and small. A frame is not a fist, and a fist is not a frame. You can't mix them together and say one is small while the other is big. The frame or 小架 routine is what we call the mother routine. It looks quite simple. However, as a matter of fact, it is a super condensed version of all the power generation techniques and the skills you should master in 八极拳. So we say 小架易学难精. 小架 is easy to learn but hard to master. Besides that, there are different ways to practice 小架. For health benefits, you do it slowly and enjoy the moves. For practical use, you do it with explosive force. Here I want to stress that mastering 小架 not only means you practice it correctly, but also means you are able to understand the deeper meanings of each move and their variations. You can't master them by listening to me or anybody else telling you what they mean. I told you repeatedly that you need to be creative yourself in this learning process. Confucius said in the Analects, if I show you one corner of a square object and you don't come back with the other three corners, then I will not repeat my teaching. 举一隅不以三隅反, 则不复也. By learning proactively, you will be able to discover many beautiful things in 八极拳. Now, the other routine, 八极拳, it is also called 单打 or 单摘. Literally, it means a single person's practice. That's because it is also a sparring routine. When you practice it alone, it is 单打. When you practice with another person as a sparring routine, it is called 对打. Besides these routines, there is another sparring routine which is called 六肘头 or six elbow head, which is based on the 小架 routine. What is interesting is that you can only see one elbow move instead of six in 六肘头, and that elbow move you see is not part of the six elbow moves hidden in the sparring exercise. In other words, what you can see in the routine is just the beginning moves or head of those hidden elbow strikes. For now, I'm talking about the classical 八极拳 system, but over time, 八极拳 has also developed many other routines in different areas by different masters. In 孟村 area, the traditional routines are 四郎宽, 四郎提, 八极 long fist, black tiger fist, flying tiger fist, 太宗 fist, 太祖 fist, 罗汉功, peach flower freehand, 形皮 fist. These are the major routines with a long history. Some of those long fist routines were introduced into 八极拳 system by Wu Zhong's daughter, Wu Rong, who married to Dai Yueyi, whose family practiced the long fist. I won't elaborate too much on that though. In the modern period, Mr. Wu Xiufeng from Mengcun created more routines. He also created 12 xingbao routines, 12行报, 扶手 sparring routines, 扶手对练, among many others. Some of Mr. Wu Xiufeng's students in Tianjin also created new routines. In recent few years, we see all kinds of new 八极拳 routines appearing all over the Chinese social media. Most of them were created by performers themselves without any traditional backing. The power generation, breathing, stomping, and the techniques were no longer traditional 八极拳. We are living in a social media world, and unavoidably, fake information is easily spread and even trusted by people. 八极拳, as well as other beautiful ancient Chinese martial arts, are also victims. So the question is, do you need to learn all those routines? Even if you learned all those routines, do you have the time to practice them on top of your training of basics, which should be practiced daily for a lifetime? The single moves, the mother routine, 小架, and the original 八极拳 itself? In I Ching, I Jing, or the Book of Changes, our ancient sage taught us that we do things following the easy and simple way. It says, being easy, so it is easy to understand. Being simple, so it is easy to follow. 易则易之, 简则易从, I'm a believer of making things simple and effective, so I mostly practice the old xiaojia and the Bajiquan in my daily training, although I learn many other routines. I think it is better to try to master one move or one routine than to learn too many of them. What do you think?